my black, brown, and indigenous. Gotta holler if you really feeling this. Gotta holler if you really real enough. Other rappers is delirious. Yeah, it's really that serious. Better holler if you really feeling me. I gotta keep it 100, ayy. If you don't like it, then fuck it, ayy. We gonna win in the end, yeah, we gonna live in abundance. I gotta keep it 100, ayy. If you don't like it, then fuck it, ayy. We gonna win in the end, yeah, we gonna. I gotta keep it 100. We gotta stop all the stunting. You know we coming from nothing. Yo, you talking about money, you bluffing. We gotta do something different. We gotta change how we live in. We gotta do better for women. We gotta do better for children. We gotta listen to victims, whether Jewish or Muslim or Christian. It doesn't matter your religion. You gotta stand against the system, or else you just another villain. How you just sitting there chilling?
Hello, everyone, on Spotify airwaves and all over the world, all platforms. Hope everyone's having a good day. Well, unfortunately, we had a very emotional week, which we'll probably talk about later on. um, I am here with the Green Party candidate for California, James Conn. Conn, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I have his link here at the bottom for people that are watching to check out his campaign and everything. How are you doing today, first of
all? Good. Fantastic. We were going to meet 6 hours ago, which would have been a lot sleepier, but now we're
right.
Caffeine and ready to go.
Yeah, you're charged up. That's awesome. Yeah, sorry about the miscommunication about that.
I'm very thankful for the media. I cannot express my thanks enough.
Awesome. Definitely an honor to have you come on. I looked at your platform, and I think that you have a very great progressive platform compared to what other Democrats and Republicans, of course, is running for Senate for. And I would say, like, what got you so wanted to be mobilized and wanted to run for Senate? That's the first question.
I'm old now. I don't give a crud if I embarrass myself. How's that? I think probably I probably didn't do things as grand when I was younger because I was worried about embarrassing myself, and that would shine badly on my family. And now I'm older. I really don't care about that, and I just kind of put down on my platform issues that really bothered me all my life.
Nice. That's really awesome. It takes time. I understand that coming from a Christian background family, it's so hard to even want to find your voice and stuff like that. But that's dope because now look at this. Now we actually have someone that we can look at another option in California, which is really, really good. That's Democratic held, right? Is strongly Democratic held. Is there any Green Party seats?
Well, we do have a few people that are Green Party at the local county levels, and the state level. So Green Party does have about across the United States is about 66 politicians in office. So that connotates two things. One is that voting green is not a throwaway vote. A lot of people say, "Oh, Green Party never wins," but also we are highly we're not very well represented. No. So
yeah, I totally feel you on that. The Green Party saying it's a throwaway vote and stuff, especially me being on a Socialist Party as well too. A lot of people will say "Oh, well, the Democrats, you should just vote for them because you're stealing away their votes when you're having other candidates. They're the ones that are actually leading this movement. Are they really?" And that's what we're probably going to get into. They're literally it's like they feel like they are. You have to vote for them. How dare you?
Flavor of the Kool-Aid.
Right.
And you get the same results. It's still sweetener. That's all it is. And once a person accepts that in their heart, they realize they see everything for what the Democrats and Republicans represent.
Right.
You got to keep viewers. Look, we just watched Russia invade Ukraine, right? 40% of oil that the European Union gets is from Russia. Where do you think that oil? Where do you think those oil pipelines lie?
Right. Right.
It's a war of oil. It's a war of innocence. Of those missiles, those tanks are killing innocent children. For companies, the Russian oil companies, British Petroleum is on the other side. So today, as the oil flows through the western blocks of Russia, the eastern blocks of European, that oil flows into our companies. And British Petroleum, you look at is, of course, England. You look at Exxon. You look at Shell, which is Dutch. These companies feign prayer and thoughts, but really it's about each one of our home team's oil company ensuring that oil flow. And innocent people are dying for oil.
Yeah, and this is something that has been going on for I don't know how long with just the United States industrial military complex, and it's about time. I think now that in 2022 we have a full understanding of where this is all coming from, and these are things that you talk about. I saw the Obama speech, especially in pollution now, and I would like to also mention to people that war is also a huge pollution as well too. Just the whole fact of how war is conducted. So that's another aspect as well too. You were talking about this, and you had the Obama speech on. Is this something? Are you the only candidate that is bringing this up? Are the Democrats that are opposing you bringing this up, or?
I don't know. I saw that speech. I'm a video editor. I went through. I in preparation for this, I do a lot of reading, and I saw that speech. I'm like, it's almost as if Barack Obama was just telling us how it's all rigged.
Right.
But it's a speech of like, oh, I'm concerned and I'm American president. But he lays down there every reason why. We have oil spills, how it's not going to end. I admit that that when I came in office, I didn't take this seriously, and I let all the inspections get rigged. There were cocaine and prostitutes. Yay! Oh, but we're going to do better this time. It's not. I'm not going to take responsibility and step down. It's just you're going to have another game plan. And then at the very end, he says, which we're very talking about. In the end, our truest weapon is just thoughts and prayers. I'm like, but that's been the solution for 100 years, man. That speech is, I think, an indictment of the failure of Barack Obama. And people will look at it and say, why did you put that up there? Why did you give him so much time? Because I gave him time to hang himself. And if you step back from it, you'll realize how he just laid it all out. Deep oil drilling, the increasing need for oil increases, right? United States produces 20%. What is it? He said like 20% of the oil, and then we use 60%, something ridiculous like that. And he says, "Will it end?" Nope. We're just going to drill deeper and deeper and deeper. Biden gets in office, he gives out more leases in the oil and the coast than any president before him.
Right. I mean, Biden even voted for the Iraq war as well too. So that's another thing there.
I got a friend of a friend who is a photographer for National Geographic. She went down to the Gulf Coast and enlightened me very early on about Corexit. Corexit is produced by British Petroleum. Corexit has been banned in Britain. Corexit is spelled Corexit, like it corrects the mistakes, right? Corexit is a dispersant for oil spills. Corexit does, it's been found over and over again. Corexit does equal damage to the oil spill area than the oil it does itself. And then I show this. It's like people just go, it's dispersed, but it gets into the fish and the shrimp, and then people eat the fish and the shrimp, and then we have Corexit and oil balls in our intestines.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and if you watch that video, it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. It's for profit. It's for oil, and it always comes down to some of the simplest things. People don't want to give up their cars. People don't want to get on the bus. People don't want to live a lifestyle.
Right.
People say, well, why? Can we build better cars? But I'm like, but we have to share that atom that produces the carbon, right? So if you got this oil, or right now electricity is produced by oil by and large. It's by and large produced by stuff. But if you're using wattage of electricity, and it's powering one train which carries 50 people, And then if you try to disperse that between cars, it breaks down to where it doesn't make sense. We have to share that electricity to power those trains, to power those buses. So we have to produce less carbon.
Okay.
Right. But it's scientific knowledge that you can follow the money. It's about profit. And that's why we're not going to do what's scientific, because science says it's about greed and profit.
Exactly. I agree with you. And especially looking at the pipeline that's being built in Yemen, and which is why it's so a big deal between the Saudi-US coalition war that's happening there. This is all driven about money. In the past, it was about faith and religion, but now in the future, war is about money. And war also ruins working class people on all sides, which is something that I've been drilling in a lot of people's head.
Do you need to drill out into people's heads?
Because some people call for, the destruction of a certain country that, that the press demonize or the press talks about, or when we are literally in the belly of a beast. And we need to understand that we have working class needs, just like they have working class needs,
Or, there's look, I grew up poor. I like to say it a lot, but who came to our high schools? The military came to our high schools with booths and got all of it. We're all like signing up all the kids in high school to go in the military.
Mine too. Yep.
Right. They don't go to the rich schools in Rodeo Drive or off of Rodeo Drive and do that. They do that in the poorest of neighborhoods and get the poor kids to enlist and go to war.
Yo, I'm so glad you said that.
Everybody experiences that. So if everybody's experienced that, why does that need to be explained? Right. So it just from high school on, it destroys people's lives because it takes them off the path of college, enrichment, and says, here's some discipline, go off to war and die for your country.
Right. And we have to be disciplined. That's the majority of the culture of America, to bow to authority, to acknowledge authority.
Yes.
Wow, this is good. I have there's something else I wanted to bring up, which you have a long list of that I really do like, in economic inequality.
Yes.
So why do you want to? What brings to mind, firsthand, when you think about ending economic inequality? What comes to mind first, and what processes should you think we should take in building this, especially for the state of California?
Because I grew up in the 90s, so I talk about African Americans. Mm-hmm. And now we're talking about, and I was always told that saying black was not right. Right? It's about physical character. But then now we're about people of color. But let me just say that the reason is that people of color have told me that is their priority. That if you want to really, if you want to know how to end racism, white people, if you want to work towards a better country, well, listen to what black people want. One of my, so I'm going to turn it on you. It's just, so I come from the belief that basically, if you want to solve a problem, listen to black people. And I want to run for office, and I'm like, people that are black should obviously be in power. But if I want to be in power, the solutions that I bring up to end the economic gap it comes from people like one of my favorite books is by Michelle Alexander. She wrote a book called The New Jim Crow. I've read it about 3 or 4 times. Actually, I should say I've owned about 3 or 4 copies. Michelle Alexander makes a great, makes a really great argument about how people of color, black people, are living in a caste system. And much like India, it is a caste system that is not just cultural, but actually is legislative, and the laws of the country create a caste system of black people in our country. And that caste system is enforced through the economic inequality. Racism gets its power from capitalism. Kwame Ture.
Yep.
Now, not only do black people get paid less, they go and all this other stuff. You can talk forever on, go to gym more often, go to jail. Even though a white person was 200 times more likely to use crack cocaine a black person's more likely to go to jail for it, right? And
Right.
any criminal acting like that, automatically when getting out of jail, they can't get student loans, they can't rent an apartment, it interferes with their jobs, they can't vote. And so every right that they have to housing, job, life, liberty, everything is now illegal. And it comes down to money. And now, if someone has no resources, to all you socialists and communists out there, if their means do not produce anything, they have no equity of their own, then they go out and they're a separate caste. Now, where is that caste? Are they living in the apartments next to us in good neighborhoods? No. Do they have houses? No. They live out homeless, Skid Row, and transient housing, for like rich white people down in Orange County, couch surfing, living in a van down by a river. But their rights are removed, and it's economic. Now, and we're allowed to continue that system because it creates profit for people that write those laws against them. If you want to, if you look at, I'm going to end this thought because it's worked well for me, and I think it echoes, and I believe it, is that if there's a mayor and a city council who are just downright racist, unless they don't know it, but who goes to the city council meeting and advocates for codes and things like that? A bunch of the homeowners. Now, if you got a mayor and city council and all the homeowners are black, then how they legislate reflects the people. So give black people all that equality, which equates to a voice in the city halls, a voice in corporations, a voice in the community that is stifled because it's a caste system. And that caste system that I speak of is, like I said, it's not cultural at all. People talk about redlining. People talk about, sharecropping. That caste system is alive and well today, and worse than ever because it's right in front of our faces and we ignore it.
Right. I agree.
Those are the words of Michelle Alexander. I just use words of Kwame Ture. A lot of this people say, "Oh, he's ripping off this person." Well, of course, I'm ripping this people off because how many times have you watched CNN? And I'm going to end this now because I'm doing that very thing. Is how many times have you saw a black man sit next to a white person and the white person just explains racism to that black person? I'm like, I'm sitting right here, motherfucker.
Well, as an organizer, you see it a lot. But hey, they give me a platform, so that what makes it better for you know what I mean. And what you just talked about is honestly when you get into the conversation, like of reparations, and a lot of the liberal idea of reparations is that we just want money, but what you just explained is a nuance and understanding of what reparations truly mean for the community. With not just money, but just giving a foot at the table, a rightful foot at the table, and being acknowledged and not always stereotyped and screwed. It's a very, very detailed understanding of what reparations is.
Black people will always characterize black people as wanting a handout. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. You're pointing out power to me, right? Pointing out power to your readers. That is the argument, and that's one of the top three arguments right there. That's laziness. You want something for free,
right? But we built this fucking place for free, so. One thing that really striking that's totally different from California than any other besides New York or any other major city is just how big and bad the homelessness is, the tent cities and everything. Do you plan on what do you have a plan for that within the tent cities and everything? I know that's a very difficult thing for capitalists. Homelessness is always reactionary.
If you go to I don't want to. Here's a corporation, but if you go to Indeed, I'm on Indeed. Look at my life. I worked with homeless people who suffer from mental illness and homeless through the county, private companies, private nonprofits for years. Homelessness is it's true. I'm going to go a little heady. Dostoevsky always said, if you want to judge a country, look inside their prisons. And now, if you want to get an idea of all the failures of the United States of America, go talk to a homeless person. see the failures of the mental health system,
Right.
see the failures of minimum wage, see the failures of disability insurances, see the failures of our health insurance companies, see the failures of landlords who reject rent control, see the failures of our capitalist system that have in recent years all but made middle class disappear by sucking up all of the money from middle class up top.
Yep.
So it's not, people will tell you, well, we need another shelter. We need, blah, blah, blah. They're like forever. If we just ban it enough. Now, I worked on Skid Row in downtown LA between 2003 and 2006. And one of the reasons that I do often say is that I worked with homelessness up here in Humboldt County and on Long Beach. Homelessness has gotten worse. I worked my ass off and I took a job. I got a master's degree, which was, I saw in Newsweek, it said master's degree in social work is the lowest paying master's degree you can get. And I dedicated my life to it. And after 20 years of this dedication as a social worker, every problem I try to help solve and rehabilitate has gotten worse. And I'm like, and that's been taken from me. Right? So homelessness is it's, first of all, let people be homeless. Stop criminalizing it. Right?
That's very radical to say.
I mean,
I agree with you though.
we like in the Arabian continent, there's cultures of the Bedouins. In Native American cultures, people live that way. They live in an area, but they would not have the brick and mortar homes. So people can live and be very happy without having a shelter. Now,
that's not a common thing in America. No one thinks like that.
So why is that a criminal activity? Right? That's the importance of it. The reason it's a criminal activity because the codification of communities. Ooh, I sound like that rhymes. The codification is as such. On private land, you're not allowed. On public land, you're not. If you're on private land, they'll call the police. If you're on public land, they'll call the police, and there's no legal place, really. Now, more and more, they're allowing that certain parts, certain areas are allowed to be in certain areas. We won't give you a ticket. Oh, we won't criminalize you for a small period of time. Stop criminalizing people. And I'm going to end the thought is that I think we took the iceberg. The largest mental health institution in the United States is the Los Angeles County men's jail facility. So the largest mental health facility is a jail.
Wow.
In the United States.
That speaks volumes of what is priority within the system. That just sounds money as fuck.
Yeah. So this is what Democrats have produced. This is what Republicans have produced. This is what Democrats have produced. This is what progressives have produced under the two-party system. So as people say, yeah, I've heard this. But why are people continuing to vote for Democrats? I'm running for an office where Alex Padilla has raised $8 million to run for office. And the campaign deadline, the campaign begins March 11th. The campaign has not begun, and Alex Padilla, who is a Democrat, has raised $8 million for a job that pays $172,000 a year. He's raised more money than if he had that job for the next 25 years. So logic. So I want to become, name a job. I want to become a librarian. That pays $50,000 a year. So to apply for a librarian position, am I going to raise $2 million to apply for that job? No. So the reason that he's applying for that job has nothing to do with an income. It has nothing to do with having that job. Right. And the reason the Democratic Party is putting political action committees, which he has, is because they want to maintain the status quo. The status quo is corporate America. This corporate America is the source of all racism and sexism in the United States. America needs to start saying, look, 60% of us are poor in reality. And I can break all those numbers down. 60% of us are paycheck to paycheck people. 60% of us allow 90% of what we produce to be taken from us while we live off of a dime of a percentage of what we produce. Our profit is being taken by bald-headed weirdos flying into space. We have got to say, this is why are we doing that? Why? Vote for somebody else. It's past time that we have to start demonstrating. We have to get out in the streets. We have to we have to go at these people, because they are not going to change. They will continue to offer really good plans and every election year, and they will follow up with none of it. And they'll whittle it down and say it's the other party's fault.
Yep.
And so
that's what Biden's doing now.
So no matter what plan you hear from the Democrats or Republicans, you'll get about a tenth of it come the day that they vote on it. And then you have a 50-50 chance of whether or not it'll pass any good legislation.
The profits are the unpaid wages of the proletariat. That is a very important line that I want people to understand, and sums up basically what you're saying. I think what's important is that, like you said, I think we're in an abusive relationship really with the United States government. The American people is in an abusive relationship with the United States government, and they have done their due diligence on making it seem that two-party systems are the only way, when it is not. The only way is building true working power between grassroots and also supporting other parties that have other ideas that could actually give you, like what the Green Party or a PSL party or sometimes a Libertarian Party would give you a better plan than what the Democrats are saying. Because you can't even trust them at this point. Biden said he's going to help out with student loans. That has not happened. But what has happened is his push to be in more wars. Yes. And I'll offer you almost World War III in exchange to not caring about Black communities and indigenous communities. I'm gonna give you a Black Supreme. I'm gonna give you a Black Supreme Judge instead
on the same
of
day. On the same day that the war is announced. Is that a coincidence?
Yes, but I'm not racist because I'm about to put a Black judge in the Supreme Court. We are inclusive. We're dropping trans bombs, rainbow bombs. That's imperialism. That's U.S. imperialism at its finest on both sides. The Republicans will be reactionary and actually get very vicious on the hatefulness, what they're not afraid to do, because they are able to see what working class people are doing and they benefit off of their anger. The Democrats
colonialism is colonialism straight through and through. What it is colonialism. It's been going on for a long time, and we're seeing right in front of our face.
Right. Yeah, definitely. One thing moving forward, I want to get to before we get into this whole industrial complex again. You have free public college up here. Now the Democrats has actually pushed for this, and I know here in Connecticut they have talked about 3 years ago. Actually, I'm trying to remember the press conference I was sitting in. I believe it was 3 years ago that they were pushing for free public college, and then they recanted their statement, and now they are pushing for free community college. Just to let y'all know, to my knowledge, none of this has actually came to pass, and they've been talking about this for the last 4 years. So if I can't say that every state has free community college yet, because I don't know that off the way, but what I know is that it's not happening. None of this has been pushed yet, and it can literally be fixed with a swipe of a pen. That's how easy it is. It's an executive order away. If I'm correct, I don't know if am I correct on that? It's literally an executive order away, right?
Yeah, it is. It could be an executive order. It can be an order by the Senate. It could be legislation that they passed by the Senate. It could be as simple as adding a tax onto the billionaires and having that pay for everything. There's about a billion ways you can probably go at it. But the reason that we don't go at it is Citibank, Chase, Bank of America. These companies that provide the loans don't want to see an end to that. I know that firsthand because I took out $64,000 in loans from Citibank, and by the time I paid them off, I think I paid well over $95,000 if you add the interest. It took about 5 years. And when I got out of college, I had my monthly payments was $500 a month, and I was only making so I was making $2,000 a month. So they're taking 1/4 of my income right off the top.
Oh, wow.
But it's, and then another topic is the student bookstores. All the text costs my day were like $100 base price for a textbook, and so the textbook industries, they make big money off of that too, right? Anybody that goes to university has to buy a $200 or $250 book, or anybody that like studies Shakespeare, and inside the bookstore they have a Shakespeare one play for $20, but if you go to right across the street to use bookstore, it's $1.50, right?
Yeah.
It's an industry. It's a money making industry, and so you have banks that are interested in it, the college bookstores that are interested in it. Universities themselves don't want that, because the university, the chancellors, the administrators, they all make a tremendous amount of money. The college programs make millions of dollars a year. It's an industry. It's not. So the reason that they don't is these lobbyists that want to convince us that it's better for this. But again, I was the first person in my family to get a college degree, and so I get out of college and I'm paying $500 a month to student loans, and then everybody knows that you don't pay 1/3 of your rent in this country; you pay half of that. So I was paying $1,000 a month in rent. I was paying $500 in student loans. There goes 3/4 of my income to my landlord and banks.
Oh my God!
In the end,
oh my God!
Way to live. So people want to say, okay, let's talk. Let's no way for people 60% of America to live. That's people right. I saw this news of some billionaire is giving out money to these inner city schools for free college loans. That was all over. And the system makes people live this way. So
Yes, I
I went to college because I wanted to have a nice convertible car. I want to live down by the beach. I want to have a ponytail girlfriend when I got to college. I want to have a good life.
We all dream.
It's a good dream, but then what I found is just debt. And I remember my first job out of college, going on long walks after I got off work because I was just so steaming, so angry, watching my files like just for the $500 check. And I was looking and I was doing the math in my head. I'm like, I'm bound to this for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
I'm like, and then you got people saying, well, you took the loan. There's this great Spike Lee produced musical. I forget the name, about this man that travels, and the character says, remember the first time that you realized that you let a teenager decide what your career was going to be? Paraphrasing. And then he stops and pauses and says, a stone teenager. Well, you remember the first time you would decide to go to college and then let a teenager decide to take out $100,000 loans? Stone teenager.
Oh my God, that's funny. It's so true. Because you literally
passing something. What was the name of the musical? Passing. Oh, gosh, I remember. Spike Lee. It was a musical about a black man back in the 60s that travels through Europe and sees America he's like living in America and everyone treats him like a black man. And then he goes to Europe. Yeah. And he's like, wait a second, there's a world without this?
Yeah. I can't think of it, but I know what you're talking about.
Passing free. Anyways, we'll move on.
It's so true with the fact about 18-year-olds that literally like they get out of school and they're told to straight up like choose a major that you're going to be into for the rest of your life when you don't really know yourself. You're 18.
I've been working as a substitute teacher, and kids come to me and I said, look, if you want to figure out, think about what you're going to be doing 5 days a week, whether or not you're an accountant or an artist. If you're just sitting at a laptop, you're just sitting on your ass 40 hours a week. Is that the job you want? Or maybe, I'm like, people always come to me, what do I want to do? I watch the little 11th and 12th graders. I'm like, well, you got to think about what is your day-to-day of that and how you're going to spend your life. And I know that because I got a friend who is a studio musician who's worked with some great bands. And he says, you just get tired of, no matter what band it is, they get tired of playing their hits.
Being a bandmate, I can relate.
So everyone's like, I want to hear that great hit from 20 years ago. I'm like, I've played it a billion times, man. It's no longer special. It's not. Yeah. So you got to think about what you're doing day to day, and part of that. So if you're going to go into debt and pay off 1/4 your income when you get out of college, and pay 1/2 your income to your landlord because no rent control, and you're going to not retire at the age of 65 because Social Security right now is on average $1,500 a month. Most seniors are going into turning 65 right now don't get more than $1,500 a month. Anybody that's paying rent, 90% of them aren't getting subsidized housing. So most seniors turning 65 right now, for $1,500, they have to live in a studio. Someone lives 65 years, they got a little bit. Think of all your records. You think of all your collections, all the stuff you collected over 60 years, and then you got to fit that. And most seniors have, what they do is they get a storage space for their life, and that's life in America, man.
Yep. The ownership is at what? The ownership for housing is at what? 40% in America? I think it's lower than that.
Lower. It is lower. It's about 20%.
Worse than I thought.
I'm a storyteller. Let's see, 12. Okay, so when free public colleges, may I have your permission to change topics to rent control?
Yeah.
I want to discuss rent control and how rent control can save capitalism from major corporations, from the hyper capitalist multinational corporations.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to talk about how rent control is actually can save capitalism. All right, so I'm living in Long Beach, and the years is 2015 to 2017. Right, between 2015 and 2017, rents went up 10% every year during those years. It was historic in many ways, but Long Beach, Pasadena, and LA City, the rents on average went up 10% every year. In Long Beach alone, and I'm going to geek out. In Long Beach at that time, there were 140,000 housing units, and there were 140,000 housing units, homes, apartments, and such. And about 100,000 of those were rentals. And so rents went up 10%. And because it was built upon it, rents went up about 50% over 3 years. Now, I say this is because most people think that the stereotype is a cute gray-haired little old man or lady who's your landlord, but about 95% of the landlords were corporations.
Yeah.
So what happened is if you do the math, like I want to do the math, and I'm probably boring people for like the hell of it. Now, over those 3 periods, those increases I sat down with the calculator, cost roughly $3 billion. $3 billion went out of the pockets of renters. And people that live in Long Beach, I hope you're watching me, and people living in that period in LA and Pasadena, if you remember between 2015 and 2017, all of the local stores just went empty. So all the local barbershops and all those stores, record stores, they lost all of their disposable income, man. And then and then was the rise of Amazon too.
Yeah.
So So if there was rent control, and think about that was 2017, and that's the past 5 years. So we're talking about $10 billion that could have gone into local mom and pop stores and sucked it right out to multinational companies. Mm-hmm. But they fought rent control because it was the boogeyman. Right? Because they're telling the people, the local voters, the local landlords that were going to that would vote on it, and because it's a citywide thing, a countywide thing, and even they tried to pass that in 2018. There was something on California ballot and that failed, but they boogeymaned rent control and said that to local landlords that rent control would make them go under, where in fact rent control would have saved their livelihood.
Now let's be optimistic. I know this is not on your platform, but how do you feel about expanding and improving public housing in that aspect?
They got to do it on steroids, and I'm not sure that they would. As a social worker, I have helped probably easily 100 people do a HUD application. I've done it. It's exactly 8 pages, and I've sat down with people, and I know I know that you can't turn a HUD application without the birth certificate and the ID accompanying it, or they'll send it right back. I know that it'll take them 6 months to get back to you, and I know that it'll take about 5 years to get on that HUD application. Then once you get a certified HUD application, you have 3 months to fulfill that HUD application. And if you cannot find a landlord to accept that application, you lose that application. You lose that HUD certification.
That doesn't make any life easy.
And you know what? Do it on freaking steroids. Just fine. But as the system stands today, why are we talking about how accepting people are going to live homelessly on the streets? If anyone knows that a week on the streets will drive you insane, why would we accept that someone's going to do it for 5 years?
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, let's do it. Flood it in, but and people, but don't. That's not where you rely on the change happening. You can't say, but there's subsidized housing. That doesn't solve anything. That is just a token of showing that there's something that is in the works. That is a reason that people use to say we shouldn't have rent control. That is a reason that people should say we shouldn't raise Social Security and disability benefits, because those people only have to pay that with subsidized housing. But 1 out of 10 get that at best. So
I know that, for instance, that there is an initiative in certain cities as well too. Like, for instance, New Haven. I don't know how LA or Pasadena or San Francisco does, but they have given a public housing initiative. But when you look inside it, they're just doing contractors with gentrification, and they offer 5% of that total bill to goes toward public housing, so they can be able to get a tax rebate, basically. Is that what you're seeing as well as in California as well too?
In California, I've watched them put a loophole that that like they'll say 5% has to be public housing, 10% has to be public housing, but then they provide a loophole which is which is fine. It's like, oh, but you cannot. But if you don't do that, just pay us a fine. And people are like, and the fine's worth it to them. They're like, if I don't have to put up with
it's a rich ass state, yeah.
Take it. There's always a loophole. There's always a loophole to that.
Wow, so they can basically buy their way out of not applying to the rules. I mean, I'm not surprised. Late stage capitalism. So.
Yeah, I went to a seminar about that. I went to a seminar for the developers in Anaheim, California, on how to fill out the forms and use that loophole. And there was a training seminar for that.
Wow.
Now, let me just say, I can solve homelessness right now. But that's why I'm running for federal office. Because the solution to end homelessness is at the federal level. And it isn't what it is we have got to triple our retirement checks. We have to triple our disability checks. What we're really looking at are people who are living out on the streets because the government check doesn't pay the rent. And it's that simple. It began when we decided to stop taxing millionaires. It began
Reagan era, right?
Yeah. And remember, he's the one that ended forced inpatient psychiatric hospitalizations. But it began when minimum wage grew flat, and as inflation hit and rents went up, we saw homelessness go up. If you want to end homelessness right here, right now, I'll tell you, as a social worker, when I was on Skid Row, I had a caseload of 150 clients. When I was working in downtown Long Beach, I had about 18. You got someone with schizophrenia. Let's take a worst case scenario. But I'm not giving them any money as a social worker. I'm just helping them utilize their checks to the best way.
Right.
Now, you take someone who's on SSDI, Social Security. This is Supplemental Security Disability Insurance, and the average right now is about $1,000 a month. You give a social worker $3,000 a month, they'll get everybody on their caseload off the streets.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
Yeah. I definitely believe that. Yeah.
You got people who have auditory hallucinations, and you got a social worker trying to negotiate with the landlord, and it's like, oh, it's a regular check. And that was my best argument. But they have a guaranteed income. But they're like, but the rent's $900 a month, and they only get $1,000. Well, we patch it together. That's why they have support. Right? But
What have anybody asked you who's going to pay for that?
What's that?
Has anybody asked you who's going to pay for that? Where the funds will come from?
For what? The tripling?
Yeah, for your the way you think housing should be handled. Has anybody asked you, like, no?
No, it's immediately rejected. This concept is immediately rejected. As people say, fight for 15, I'm like, okay, we got $7.50. How do you think a senior's live getting by? A senior, if you take their $15 check and divide it in a 40-hour work week, they're getting like $2.50 an hour.
Yeah.
People are on monthly most people, this population that are homeless, or people that are getting checks, even if they're vets or whatever. That's why they see so many vets out, because their monthly checks can't pay the rent. Help the people pay the rent. And people say, how are you going to do it? Well, tax all the billionaires, right?
Yeah.
Tax the oil.
Yeah.
Tax the capitalist system that produces this, man.
Yeah.
Because I'm tired of living this way. I'm tired of feeling guilty, because a lot of people I went to high school with did become homeless. I worked with a lot of people. I'm tired of feeling guilty of watching it being 30 degrees outside and knowing that someone's sleeping in a sleeping bag outdoors. Right. Why should I feel guilty? Why fucking Bezos is flying and having his jollies in a rocket?
Right. That's a conversation that I've had with my partner as well too. How we struggle, and then we see all these people homeless asking for money, and it's like, wow, why can't this city take accountability and see all this that's going on and use their funds truly, instead of trying to always make sure they make the police happy and stuff like that? Name one
United States senator that isn't a millionaire.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a big deal. No one says anything about that.
I'm saying about it.
Right. You're right. Yeah, man. Like, I think that is so important to just drill in people's heads 24/7. Just keep doing that, especially in California, and how powerful California is compared to other states. I mean, they literally are the mecca of Democrats.
2 weeks ago, they had a bill that was up for statewide single payer health insurance, and they decided not to bring it to a vote because they thought they couldn't get the votes. Gavin Newsom has been advocating for single payer health care. That's supposed to be his thing, and in a state that is by and large Democrat, mayor's Democrat, the assemblies, everybody's Democrat, and they thought they couldn't get a vote for a single payer, so they just decided not to vote on it.
So let me get this straight: the whole entire state is Democrat, and they say they want single payer, so they could get this passed easily, but somehow they also think they can't get single payer.
They couldn't get votes, right? And so they just decided not to vote on it.
How long has the Democrats ran California? Basically, it's been a while, right?
I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger was like the most liberal guy I knew.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll call him Republican, but I'm like, he looked just like a Democrat to me.
Right.
Even our Republicans are Democrats. Well, we have a few. Marco Rubio, I think, is from us, or what's his Devin Nunes, I think it is.
Devin Nunes, yeah.
Devin Nunes.
I didn't mean to say crackpot. That's not nice. I need to be nice. You're like, oh yeah, say it.
Now, I believe that 90%, by and large, as a rule, Democrats and Republicans are all conservative. They make you promises, but the ends are all the conservative.
Yes. Way. I mean, that's why Democrats are always so leaning towards how the Republicans feel, in contrast to how Republicans don't give a fuck how people feel and just do what they want. If Democrats had the gall to do exactly how Republicans are, just get shit done, you'll see a totally different system, honestly.
Yeah.
But it's always a bipartisanship for some reason. Anytime when it's bipartisan, I was like, this is not even.
Well, Democrats receive more corporate donations than Republicans now, so Democrats are now more. So Republicans receive less corporate donations than Democrats now, so we have more in common with Republicans when it comes to corporate donations.
Well, really?
Yes.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. So let's say if you win, and your first day in the Senate, you have majority of Democrat colleagues. Will they work with you, or how can you imagine that's going to go down?
Man, if I won, I mean, I could be like, well, on my first day, I will put one on. I'd wet my pants.
It's a great, honest answer.
I would have a panic attack, and from the time of the election to the time I got sworn in, I would be like up 12 hours. I would sleep 2 hours a day. I'd be writing legislation. I would be contacting everybody I know. I would be contacting, people would be reaching out to me. I'm like, I want anti-corporation laws. I want to talk about the environment. And Alex Padilla is against fracking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Gavin Newsom's against fracking. Kamala Harris is against fracking, but has fracking stopped one bit? You saw my video. No. I'm like, I want anti-fracking. I want my first legislation to end homelessness is going to put a way to end to raise Social Security, raise disability benefits, right?
Mm-hmm.
To infuse money, federal money, into having free college, to no longer make colleges funded by state and counties. Colleges will now be funded by the federal government. I would raise taxes on billionaires. I would just my goal is not the legislation. My aren't you tired of living this way, America?
Right.
Aren't you freaking tired of being poor? Aren't you tired of being precarious? It is because of us that the English class system added a new class subsystem called the precarious poor to be only within a slight illness or a setback to lose our housing and fall into deep poverty. Our system produced that. The precarious poor is what our capitalism. Aren't you tired of that? Don't you want a way of life? And aren't you tired of saying one day I want to be Kanye? And I point out to people, statistically speaking, a person is more likely to become a millionaire through a winning lottery ticket than through a career of talent, right? How many people want to live now? I would be down in LA. People would shred guitar. I'm like, Jesus Christ, yeah, I study classical music. And you're not famous? Nah, I'm a waiter, right? Talented people very rarely get rich. Basketball, all that. I call that I got the talent millionaire. Like 1%. That American dream does not work. Go buy a lottery ticket if you want to be a millionaire because of that talent, because it ain't going to work.
Yeah, you're being brutally honest, and I respect that, because we're raised too much to think that we're all going to become millionaires. That's the problem with America.
Do you like Outkast?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite groups. Yep.
I think Gasoline Dreams is like the song of the 2020s.
Yeah.
I have been so angry and gone for a walk and put my headphones on, listen to Gasoline Dreams.
Hey man, you gotta do what you gotta do. You know what I mean? Self-care. When you're out here always pissed about what's going on, I go through the same thing, man. Like, yeah, I know exactly how you feel.
And you talk about this shit, and everybody comes out, but everybody's got appearances. If this was 100 years ago, we would see people standing around trash cans that have fires in them.
Yeah.
It's just all appearances.
France, the Yellow Vest movement.
Huh. I know about it. What about it?
What you're explaining, like, we need to bring back a working class that it comes together like that. That's the only way.
I did a documentary. I'm a guy of challenges. I'm weird. I living in LA, I knew a lot of people that went to film school. So I'm like, what? And so many friends of mine that went to film school never did a film. I'm like, why would you go to film school and never make a film? So I made 2 films, funded them, wrote them, directed them, edited them. One of them is on Occupy LA, right? It's OLA. And I made it. I went down. Occupy LA happened in 2011, dating myself. And from the first day of Occupy LA to the last day of Occupy LA, 59 days over, I drove down every day and I taped it, and then I edited it together, and then I made a 30-minute documentary, and went to a film festival. So I accomplished making a film, but not one that would just go to YouTube, but I could make. And I went to a film festival, and that was on Occupy LA, and how the Occupy movement developed a sustaining movement over time, and how they did that. That's what I wasn't really about what it was about, but how can you do something like that just on pure sheer will? And that's what they did, right? Because that's what we got to do. Now you got a bunch of truckers down there, and you got the pillow guys sending billions of dollars or $1 million, and they're getting all supported by these people because the truckers get all this money. But when we do something, it has to be by sheer will, it has to be by small donation. And how do you get something like that? And so I did a documentary on that. And that's what we need to do is to bring people together to where we can share our passion and work on a little bit every day, each one of us, and move towards something and get it done.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's where we are now.
Yeah, exactly. And we were close to that when Trump was in office, but I feel like a lot of people started getting lax after he lost. And the important is the sad part is that we could have kept that fire going, and I think that fire would have given Biden a understanding of where he needs to go. But he understands now that everybody's like, whew. So he's taking advantage of the whew.
But remember, man, when that shit went down in Portland, and they moved into the federals, they said it was because in Portland that was going on federal land. Right, so they can go all hot and heavy, but then a few months later, on January 6th, that shit happened on federal land, but they didn't bring in the military on that shit, did they?
No.
So we can learn things by looking past the history of the differences of these things. People, scoff about what happened in Portland, Black Lives Matter, Antifa, but and they're like, oh, they're weirdo. But then you wait just a little bit and look what happened on January 6th, and look at those freaks and how violent they were. They wanted to go out and kill people. Right. And what was the response? None. So what happened in Portland has a different narrative when you look at through that lens, right? All right. In the time, people were scoffing on Antifa, Black Lives Matter, what was going on in Portland. They were saying they were wasting time. They were lazy and want to work. But the minute that it becomes January 6th, these guys, these truckers, it's a different narrative.
It is.
Across both of them. I've totally 50 minutes, huh? Anything? We can meet again if you'd like. If this is
definitely. Yeah. We could definitely wrap this up, and definitely reschedule for another season. I love to have you come back on. This was a great conversation, and I have your link below. So what's next for you, real quick? Do you got any events that you got to do or fundraising that you want to bring out? When is the election? How could people?
The election
for people that don't know when.
The election's in June. The campaign starts March 11th. This is my third campaign. It's going to be different. It's going to have to be virtual. It's going to have to be me writing op-eds and newspapers explaining why I'm running, telling my story, making videos. It's going to be a lot of virtual, which is a sad thing. And because face to face, you get the results are so much bigger. So it's going to be slow. It's going to be March to June. So we're looking at like 3 months of it, and then that's good. And then it's going to be the top 2 people go to the runoff election in November.
And you're on the ballot, right? You're going to be.
I am on the ballot. That took me a year. That took me a year to do. That is another thing. I think there was like 30, 40 people, and I think there's right about 12 left over now. To raise the money, get the signatures, do all that they've made it really hard. They're actually even trying to pass. I saw one in California right now. They're trying to pass legislation to ban ranked choice voting. They want to ban it here. Yeah. The Democrats have been making the people talking about this voter rights bill that they did, but if you look at it, it makes it even harder for third parties to get on the ballot. So the Democrats are leading the charge to silence us. It's the Democrats, and they blame the Republicans for making voting itself harder, while the Democrats make it harder and harder to get on the ballot.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that off of my experience. I've seen that firsthand in 2018. But James Conn, thank you so much for coming on.
Invite me back, please. I hope I did okay. Please invite me back. And
I'll definitely invite you back, man. Thank you so much. You're definitely a friend of the show. I'm going to send you the link because this is live, so you can be able to share this out. And then I'll drop videos in between through the days, like little clips and stuff like that. So definitely, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. All right, have a great weekend.
You too. Have a good weekend, and everybody that's listening, have a good weekend and good night. Oh, good afternoon. That's over here.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
Blank period, yeah. On my black, brown, and indigenous. Gotta holler if you really feeling this. Gotta holler if you really real enough. Other rappers is delirious. Yeah, it's really that serious. Better holler if you really feeling me. I gotta keep it 100, ayy. If you don't like it, then fuck it, ayy. We gonna win in the end, yeah, we gonna live in abundance. I gotta keep it 100, ayy. If you don't like it, then fuck it, ayy. We gonna win in the end, yeah, we gonna. I gotta keep it 100. We gotta stop all the stunting. You know we coming from nothing. Yo, you talking about money, you bluffing. We gotta do something different. We gotta change how we live in. We gotta do better for women. We gotta do better for children. We gotta listen to victims, whether Jewish or Muslim or Christian. It doesn't matter your religion. You gotta stand against the system, or else you just another villain. How you just sitting there chilling?